Welcome, race fans, back to SVR. My name is Webbo, here to bring you coverage of the G2 round 5 of the championship here at SVR's Sim Racing VR World Championship. We are into round 5, as I say. We're at the very cloudy and somewhat muted looking Californian racetrack of WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. And this is how our championship in G2 looks at the moment. We have Lili leading the championship by 11 points from a joint second place of Brum, who has double podiumed, and NTO, who has double won so far this season. So a very different set of results from our top three. Hot Laps is in fourth, clear of Sock, who's in fifth. By just 4 points. Sock out of the race last time round, no scoring of course, with Grant Me Peace in P6 on 28. Black Evo follows on 26, joint 8th place are Rhino and Daddy Banana. Monkey Games is in 10th, we have B-Bar and Phil ahead of Zenith, but Pink Slayer is just below this list. Unfortunately, Pink Slayer has not been able to take part for some time. And in terms of our championship, in the teams championship, we have Argento leading on 103 ahead of PSV Racing and the newly named Katana AI Racing Team Kart, replacing the colour scheme and names for Morado, but buying out the franchise, so keeping the points accrued so far from its drivers, and the driver lineup remains unchanged here in G2. We have Azul in P4, just 1 point behind Katana, with Hector Motorsports, Obsidian Racing all ahead of Zelen Racing. And as we say, very different picture across from G2 to G1. This is our qualifying situation. We have Lili qualifying at the back. Now, I don't have information at this point as to whether that was due to some sort of penalty, or whether that was purely on pace, or perhaps he didn't get a lap in. But Lili, our championship leader, starts at the very back of today's grid here. This is one of those tracks that can separate our drivers significantly from their normal performance, either to the positive or the negative. Lili starting at the back. Then the Zelen Motorsports entry from Lord Top Hat is in P13, just behind B-Bar, who starts 12th. We have Zenith Specs in the BMW M4 GT3, and shout out to Zenith for sharing our race on GT7 for me to pick up without asking, so appreciate that. It's medium tyres for everybody so far. We have Monkey Games in P10 and Black Evo starting in 9th. Oscar starts in G2 here today, after a fabulous performance in the rookie race at this very track. Oscar in the Lamborghini in a tin top GT3 car rather than the single-seater downforce car that he managed to do so well in the rookie race at this track. He's representing Azul Racing Team, with everybody up to NTO starting on the mediums. NTO starts in 7th on the soft tyres. Then we have Rhino in P6, back on those mediums. Sock making clear that Argento have gone for the aggressive start. Sock in P5 on his qualifying. He'll be pleased, I'm sure, with that qualifying pace. Phil starts on the mediums, likewise for the Tortoro PSV Racing Allied Golden team, with VR Hot Laps putting in a P3 qualifying position, and this represents a very good starting grid, particularly for the Brits, I think, today. We have Grant Me Peace starting also on those medium tyres in the M4 GT3, but Brum takes the pole position in his brand new Katana AI Racing Team colour scheme. Excuse me just one moment, just an adjustment needed in the comms booth. There we go. Okay. And Brum starting then at the very front of the grid at what I'm if I remember correctly, at least, happens to be, I think, his favourite track, the track that he tends to go and practice every car at when he picks up a new car. So he'll have high hopes here today, and in that beautiful new livery, we should be expecting some big things. So we've got championship second place driver Brum with a fantastic opportunity to take hold of a good run here today with his main championship rival right at the very back. VR Hot Laps looking to get himself in the mix there as well. So with NTO also in 7th, an intriguing one for our top drivers who have competed to this point anyway in our championship. So without further ado, let's get ourselves underway for this race around Laguna Seca. 34 laps await for what I'm imagining will be a fairly likely one-stop race for everybody. Change of tyres, of course, necessary, and a rolling start to get us underway. Here we go then, with Brum ahead of Grant Me Peace for our rolling start. You'll hear the countdown begin for the start of our race, and it is. There we go. Drop the clutch and go, go, go. Grant Me Peace getting himself underway, but Brum obviously with a good opportunity to get that throttle down early into Andretti. Brum, the reference point for everybody else coming down into the Andretti hairpin. A big gap at the back there. Oscar slow away, I think. And it looks to be that Black Evo has managed to muscle his way by. The big change then at the start of the race. Let's just go back and see what exactly went down with Oscar. I think that was just a little tardy off the line. Very unusual to see on a rolling start. Such an open opportunity, and through went Black Evo very early. Oscar trying to turn in, but unfortunately Black Evo had already made his way right up there. Lili unable to make any moves early doors in his Porsche, but he's already having a look at the back of Lord Top Hat's LN Motorsports McLaren 720 LS. Here we have Brum then in P1 leading as they head through turn 5 even, and in his new colour scheme, we've got Grant in P2, VR Hot Laps chasing him down. So different fortunes for our Lamborghinis off the line. Despite choosing the same tyres, they have had a very, very mixed bag of starting procedures. Number 1, 2, 3 there for VR Hot Laps, looking aggressive into the world famous corkscrew corner, and Argento already looking very, very hot, and putting a gap on with NTO, putting a gap on Black Evo, and Sock looking super aggressive and super ready to race as we head into the final corner of this fantastic racetrack, and through we go, taking it very wide. As long as you keep, I think, 2 wheels on the red and white section of the curb, the inside 2 wheels can go all the way out onto the red and white curb and still be a-okay as far as track limits are concerned. And that looks like a defensive shape potentially. No, it wasn't. It was VR Hot Laps taking the lead, taking the second position. And that all began at a great exit from the previous corner, and heading down then into putting a bit of a squeeze perhaps on Grant there, who might not take too kindly. That causes a little bit of ping pong action. Brum getting a bit crossed up and out of shape, and VR Hot Laps taking the fight here, and Sock going through past Phil as well. Sock on the inside. Looks like Phil is left a little bit at sea, hung out on the outside as Rhino makes his way through in the Hector Motorsports Porsche, and NTO is queuing up as well. Absolutely, that was all to do, I think, with that Hot Laps move down into Andretti, and it kind of had this knock-on domino effect throughout the rest of the top 7. NTO unable to capitalise, and there looks like Phil is hanging on against Rhino, who drops back. Let's have another check of this one. A little sniff at the rear there from NTO, and then it's Phil almost, I think, here forced into a manoeuvre and going outside to inside. Beautiful switchback, actually rescues Rhino from disaster as they come through there. Rhino dropping back then, NTO with 1 place gain so far, but right on the tail of this top 6, and straight away NTO, no, it was Sock who went wrong, coming out of the corkscrew, unfortunately. Let's have a look. How did that one go down? He's got a good braking reference point in front, but sometimes the car gets a little bit light before you're expecting it, but I think this is going to be throttle spike and straight into the gravel. Unfortunately, tiny little contact. You can't drive forward through a barrier, Sock. And are we going to avoid any damage here? There's a yellow flag caused. He tries to get 2 wheels up onto the asphalt, manages to do so without getting into the difficult situation of crossing across the racing line. Monkey Games has had an absolute nightmare start as well. Let's see what happened to Monkey. Are we going to have to go too far back? There he is, unfortunately. Oh, and it's doing battle, I think, there with Lili. I think we might need to go back and have a second look at that as well. Where is Lili? Reference to Zenith specs. Well, looks like Zenith is looks like Monkey's going to lose it on the exit here. We saw plenty of that, and then it's a left or right situation for Lili. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough open track there, so Monkey Games dropping way back down the order to dead last again for Zelen Motorsports. Unfortunately, that means 13th and 14th on what was not the best payday for the team in the G1 division either. Brum leads ahead of VR Hot Laps. Brum putting in the fastest first lap of the race, with the advantage obviously of being first across the line there at racing speed. So we'll see how that shapes up through the next run. Here is Grant though, trying BMW versus Porsche. Grant again leaving the inside open here, as he did against VR Hot Laps, maybe trying to focus on his exit, but he's much slower with the understeery BMW M4 GT3 as he heads through, and unfortunately that is another place lost. Phil though up to P3, that's a strong one. Look at the Brits go here, first, second, third, seventh, 8th and 9th, I think I make that, as we run through the order in a moment. But Grant is now on the defensive. Remember, those soft tyres on the Argento should be strong. NTO through and past Grant, and it looks like Rhino is queuing up as well. So it's just one of those situations when you're stuck losing momentum. And again, I think Grant is really struggling with that understeer. Good anticipation from Rhino, who will get alongside, but he'll have less grip going into the corkscrew here. Tries to get back towards the racing line, steals a little bit of apex through the first part of the corkscrew, and that worked out well for him. A little bit of paint traded between the two. Black Evo chasing this group down as the 6th and 7th positions start to drift back further from the lead of the race. Oscar with a good start in P8, and he's solidified that P8. B-Bar in 9th, and he's got Lili, championship leader, trying to get himself back where he feels he belongs, at the sharp end of the grid in the beautiful PSV Racing sponsored Tortoro golden colour scheme Porsche. We've got Porsche versus Porsche here on the main start-finish flat out section. It's hardly straight. Into Andretti we go, and Lili making his way by there. B-Bar not fighting that too hard, but it's the same tyre combination, same tyre that they're both on, as there is Lord Top Hat, who started near the very back of the grid. He's up to 11th. Zenith Specs there in 12th, with Sock in 13th and Monkey Games, who both had their shares of drama. 124.3 on lap 3 for Brum. Contrast that with a 24.3 from VR Hot Laps. So these guys are absolutely pushing hard. Phil pushing a little bit too hard on the brakes there. Sock is NTO is gonna find that very, very welcome. NTO up from 7th up to 3rd on lap 4 already. Cracking start for the driver here, for the Argento team. And there goes a big moment for Rhino off the circuit. And that was through the penultimate corner, an unusual place to lose it. It is low grip on the outside, but he looked a little bit narrow. It's clattering into the red Cheeto curb there for him as he tries to rejoin. That's not the safest of rejoins, but it's not the most dangerous you'll ever see either. And he goes very wide into the final corner as well. There's no damage on the car. That looks like it may be a mechanical issue for Rhino. Why can't he get going, I wonder? Looks like possibly the shifter didn't function and he didn't get the deceleration he was hoping for. But maybe a problem there for Rhino, and hopefully that's something he can sort very quickly. Monkey Games still there in that 14th place. Beautiful new livery there for Katana AI Racing Team as they come through. Brum leading the way, really getting comfortable in his Ferrari 296 GT3. Both cars in the top two there, putting tyres over on the dirt, they'll have to be careful later on. We saw in the G1 race that as the temperatures dropped with the sunlight dipping, the off-track excursions proved much more costly. Absolutely fabulous moment there. Just see VR Hot Laps waving the front up in the air as he heads through. Love that. Love to see that as he goes through there on the absolute limit, wheeling through the corkscrew. But it's just a fabulous camera angle to witness exactly what's happening. He also lifts a front tyre heading into the corner. That's when you can tell that the car is stiffly sprung and it is being pitched into the corners for the ultimate slip angle through the turns. Unfortunately, it's not able to compete with NTO's pace, though, on the soft tyres. He has the fastest lap of the race, which was only a shade faster than his previous lap, 123.3 on those soft tyres. The rumour had it in the live chat of G1 that we had about a 1 second a lap advantage at peak grip between the soft and the medium tyres, but of course they last a lot less time, although that won't be so much of a problem here in the reduced length G2 race. What can Brum do here for his championship hopes, for his brand newly branded team, and of course for his favourite track, as Brum leads ahead of VR Hot Laps and NTO as the Peugeot RCZ is slowly but surely hassling the back of VR Hot Laps and making sure that VR Hot Laps is no longer attacking Brum. Further back, we've got Phil in 4th, Grant in 5th, Oscar up to 6th place, who has cleared Black Evo early on. Didn't quite see how that went down, but Lai's in 8th place from the very back of the grid. B-Bar's in 9th. We've got Sock in 10th. On the recovery here, Sock, without causing damage to the car. He's got past the first of our drivers who started near the back, who hasn't had a problem yet. Lord Top Hat, Zenith Specs, Rhino. Zenith Specs spins right in Rhino's face, and thankfully Rhino managed to get through there. We will see plenty of that happening today. Unfortunately for Zenith Specs, it's the character of this Laguna Seca track. We've got some side-by-side action in towards turn 3, and it's NTO into P2 now on those soft tyres. How much has this cost him in terms of tyre wear for the latter part of our race, and how late can our medium starters elect to switch onto the soft tyres? I don't see the hard tyres being in play here at all in G2 today. We will, I'm sure, see one-stop medium and soft combinations. So it's all about maximising your 2 stints, especially your time on the soft tyre, and cutting your losses as soon, I think, as that soft tyre starts to drop off. The medium starters will be watching the Argento team and how far into the race they can get on the soft tyres, and then of course they do the reverse on the latter part of the race. Lap 7 as NTO in passing and in catching and then passing VR Hot Laps dropped about 7 tenths on the previous lap, but he's managing to pick up the pace here. He's going to have the opportunity to battle Brum. Now, how much does Brum decide to defend here, and how much does he focus on his race pace at the end of the race? He's best served, I think, by holding up NTO and limiting NTO's ability to put a pit stop gap between the two of them. But how much does that bring the likes of VR Hot Laps and possibly Phil into the mix and make it a 4-horse race instead of just the 2? Brum very wide through turn 3, and straight away NTO has got his way by. We'll have another look at that from Brum's perspective here. I think it was slightly further back, in fact. Feeling the pressure already. Is it possible there was some dirt on the tyre there? Couldn't quite get into the apex. But I think just a little bit of overspeed, and that compromised the exit. Tries to turn in. Of course, the drivers in VR cannot necessarily, unless they have their radar up, see when a driver is there until they're in their peripheral vision. Brum losing first place to NTO then on lap 8, and NTO on those soft tyres will try and put as much of a gap between himself and Brum as he possibly can. It is Peugeot, it is Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche and BMW in that order on the racetrack. So this is not a clear and obvious car advantage. It's a bit of a driver makes the difference kind of a track, I think, here today. VR Hot Laps has his headlights on already, but most of the drivers are running at least low-level lighting at this point. Oscar picking up the pace. Oscar trying to bring himself back then into the lead battle there for a provisional podium. So let's wait and see. He'll be feeling pretty flush with confidence at this track. And already you're seeing perhaps NTO not being able to make the difference on that lap that I was expecting. 26.5. It didn't all go swimmingly for him. 27.5 that time for Brum. But the gaps are now down to under a second between all 5 of our cars in succession at the front of the grid. So it's NTO, Brum, VR Hot Laps, Phil and Grant. Oscar starting to dial up the pace here as he gets that confidence, and we see the sun starting to lose its intensity on the racing surface. It's not a dark asphalt here at Laguna Seca. It's actually quite a light grey, so it won't absorb as much sunlight as you would normally see on a new asphalt surface. But clearly, as the daylight temperature and intensity of the sun dips beyond the horizon, things will start to get even slippier here at the California Raceway. So it is NTO ahead of Brum. Brum with a personal best on this lap as the medium tyres are coming into their absolute best, or he's stealing a little bit of technique and pace from NTO's example in front. Dialing up the intensity. He could well have been playing a little bit of sandbagging at the start of the race. That's not necessarily Brum's style as far as my experience of him goes, but it's always a possibility out there. Just reserving the tyre until it is fully up to temperature. Phil with an impressive run so far, P4, and he's got Grant, who has seemingly got the front end to start complying on the BMW at this point. Possibly a bit of use of brake balance controller there to perhaps get the front end turned in a little bit more. Here is Oscar, probably running about 4 seconds away from the top 5 at this stage, but I don't think we can count Oscar out just yet. He's certainly got plenty of experience of all the danger areas at this track from running in the rookie division race here and reserving for his uncle's team in Azul, and of course he races in this team as well for the rookies. Here is Phil. Typical little bit of rear wheel sliding on the Porsche, which you love to see. VR Hot Laps in P3. We've got Brum into P2 and NTO, of course, leading the race. Let's go back and see. Oscar's gap further back is about, I would say, estimating about 3 seconds to Black Evo. Lilai up from the back on those medium tyres, making good use of his pace right now in the 360. We've got Lord Top Hat in 9th, big gap actually from Lord Top Hat forward, with Rhino in 10th position. We saw Rhino having a slide earlier on. We saw Sock off the circuit as well. Zenith Specs in 12th, and Monkey Games at the very back, and actually getting into a danger territory of being caught, possibly even before the pit stops. We will see as we come through. It is NTO. Remember, it's Monday morning racing for the likes of Lord Top Hat and for oh, that's off very wide from NTO. Brum watching NTO do what he did at the one corner earlier on the racetrack, and Brum couldn't quite get fully alongside there, as perhaps NTO had done to him. Just to complete that thought earlier, yes, Monday morning, like 5 or 6 a.m. for Lord Top Hat and Monkey Games. They race with us, where it's Sunday evening or lunchtime for the majority of our races based in Europe or the USA. So maybe some more coffee needed for our Antipodean drivers. Maybe a little bit more time to get that coffee working. VR Hot Laps in P3 and Phil in 4th position, and there goes NTO with a massive tank slapper off the circuit. Really big surprise for him, as the soft tyres aren't really in the major danger territory. Touches the curb on the inside, regathers it, a-okay. What happens here for NTO? It's just understeer. And wow, dramatic moment for him as he spins out after the corkscrew before we get into the final corner of the race, and down to 5th. Bit of a present there for Brum and for VR Hot Laps, who was catching Brum very quickly. Lap 12 begins now with Brum back in the lead, and unfortunately for NTO, that's the soft tyre advantage completely nullified. Are we in to the medium tyre window for him? Can he cut his losses, get off the soft tyre and get onto a more durable tyre now? Or does he have to live with what will be overheated and flat spotted soft tyres at this stage, and a whole lot of dirt in his radiator and diffuser? He has picked up damage as well, so I would imagine, I'm surprised that he didn't manage to bail into the pits on that lap itself, but he will have wanted to just assess the damage for a lap and see how much slower that lap that damage and tyre deg is going to cost him. But we're into what is, let me try and get this right. I'm famously bad at this. I think we've got 24 laps to go here, and that's quite a big ask for those medium tyres, so I think that might be a bit early for him. Maybe a lap or two's time he'll be able to find his way by. But how fantastic is this to see the top 4 unable to rest here and continue to keep their focus. It builds the tension, it builds the heart rate, and also, of course, the temperature in the cockpit as they feel that pressure. And feeling the pressure is Phil. A little bit of oversteer possibly on the brakes there. The front seemingly reattaching its grip after saying no for a little bit longer than he was hoping for. There goes VR Hot Laps now as well. VR Hot Laps wide through turn 4, and we've seen that time and time again already. And this is a war of attrition. This is about being the driver who can drive to survive, I think, here today, if you'll pardon the program title. Flying in, and there goes Phil now off at turn 6. Insane to see. This is way too early for me to be seeing the drivers struggle on the medium tyre. This is just a little bit too much speed through the corner. I didn't see him. I don't think he made contact with the sausage curb there, the red Cheeto on the inside line, and another one drops out of the battle here as Brum will be very grateful to see this happening to his rivals so far. So Brum getting away from the group, that allows him to just breathe a little bit easier, stop focusing on his mirrors for a few laps and focus on tyre preservation. NTO has stayed out in P5. Will he duck into the pits now? He will not. So the first sliding lap cost him 4 seconds. The next lap seems to cost him 2 seconds with the damage. That's going to compound very quickly, so I'm sure he'll take the earliest chance to pit for new tyres. 21 laps to go then, and it is Brum ahead of VR Hot Laps, Grant and Phil in quick succession here, the podium contenders, with NTO further back. Black Eveso is back into 6th place, so something unfortunately has happened to Oscar, who's dropped way back to 10th place on that previous lap. I think that only just took place, so we might be able to see what happened to Oscar. Forgive me, Oscar, for this one. Let's go back and see. We are going a hell of a long way back here. I thought that was a 146 lap or something. Here it is. Here's the moment for Oscar as he comes in to turn number 5. All okay for Oscar through 5, and it's going to be, I think, another turn 6 victim. Yeah, one wheel on the dirt on the entry that pushed him at the wrong angle into the Cheeto, and off again, unfortunately for Oscar, and that's way down then to 10th place. He finished up. We've got a Sock in 11th. He's been off the circuit as well. Oscar avoiding damage, Sock still with damage. I hope there's enough duct tape in the Argento team to repair these cars in the pit stop period. We've got Monkey Games still at the back of the grid as Brum holds his breath, as all drivers are doing through the corkscrew every single time. and drops down the famous helter-skelter-like left-right with the multiple camber change, bumps, dirt, curbs, everything thrown into it to try and battle with. And we get into the golden hour then with the time elapse here, as the temperatures will be notably dropping off just as the medium tyres start to complain a little bit. I think for most drivers at the moment all is okay. Remember, the Porsches protect their fronts as the fuel comes off, whereas generally speaking the midship or front engine cars tend to have their fronts worsen. Front limited track, this one. It is the front right that takes the bulk of the damage and degradation through the course of a stint. Brum can't be too complacent out there. You can still see the drivers behind him. He might be monitoring and measuring the gap to give himself the best and easiest run to the line today. Lap 14 of the 34, about halfway complete so far. Brum, hot laps, Grant, Phil in the top 4 positions. We might just be able to see in the background NTO momentarily. And I'll tell you what, we'll ride through the corkscrew. You can see how limited your visibility is on board through the corkscrew there for our drivers. You have to just remember what you're pointing the car at different points through the corner. Incredibly difficult. And you also need to be well on the brakes before this crest so that the car will grip in and not hop and need to rebalance as you land back on the racetrack if you go in there at full throttle. So lots of hard work for the drivers getting through this portion of the race. Monkey Games has dropped further back. No damage on Monkey Games' car though, so I think he's a-okay at this stage. Brum leads ahead of Grant. We've just had a possible problem for NTO. He has dropped back from Grant on this lap, or has he made his way by Phil? I think that's the situation. I think Phil has just dropped back, in fact. Did Phil go off the circuit? No, there's a big problem for VR Hot Laps. Let's go back and witness exactly what went down. Are we going to get a little bit of action? I thought perhaps he'd been bumped into that one, but he'd already lost it way before the issue there for Grant on his way out of the corner. No damage on his car. No, oh, there is a touch of damage on Grant's car. And I think that was possibly as NTO was on the throttle on the way out of the corner and rammed into the back of Grant. So no onus on Grant to reduce the gap to the car behind. No pit stop still from NTO with 19 and a half laps left to run. I'm very surprised to see that. Of course, further contact there for NTO came after the pit lane entry. So there's nothing he could do about that particular contact, but it didn't seem to damage his car. Very unfair that he runs into the back of Grant through no fault of his own, I suppose, but Grant gets damage where NTO does not. Look at that beautiful sunset as well. Fantastic. Black Evo driving very solidly at the moment. Good qualifying for Katana. Great performance and smooth driving so far as well. VR Hot Laps then slotting behind him on his recovery. Thankfully for VR Hot Laps did avoid damage, but for Azul Racing Team it's been a trip backwards so far in this first part of the race, into the second third of proceedings so far. And there, right on cue, goes NTO in off the soft tyres. A little bit of refueling required today. We'll go back and see there's Lili from the back in 7th position. Rhino comes through in P8. Lord Tupper sliding his way in 9th. There is Oscar. Followed by Sock, who is stopping on lap 15, exactly the same as his teammate. He didn't feel the need to pit earlier, but both Argentos having to have rear bodywork repair and possibly a touch of suspension repair as well. Massive gaps at the front have suddenly opened up. Brum to Grant looking at about 6 seconds or more. Phil likewise in P3. Now Black Evo with the pit stop of the Argento team. Black Evo now up to P4. But again, a big gap, and then we've got some close running finally in the pink sky here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We've got VR Hot Laps trying to get his way back towards the podium here, as we've got obviously a mixed nationality grid, a lot of red, white, and blue. You have to say, but yeah, in different configurations. Brum the Brit leading Grant from the USA, leading the British Phil, and then again back to the USA for Black Evo. So fantastic. We've also got a Norwegian in there, Lilai, and an Australian, Lord Topat, in the top 8. Very much the VR Sim Racing World Championship emphasis on world here at SVR as they run through. We have a Corsican driver who has the fastest lap as well, on board with VR Hot Laps here. A little bit of counter steer there. Nice exit in the Lamborghini. Very pointy car. Lamborghini gets into the apexes very nicely, sometimes a little bit too much. But it looks like that inside curb through turn 5 and 6 is absolutely treacherous right now. I don't know if the drivers have carried any dirt up onto there, but unfortunately, maximising the run and getting on the throttle as early as possible is absolutely key up the hill towards the corkscrew. Stealing as much apex as you dare through that famous corkscrew. It's worth mentioning the new Katana AI livery in front as well. Hot Laps will be admiring that. Don't forget to catch up with VR Hot Laps post-race highlights. Hopefully you go back and watch after the race is broadcast here on the SVR channel to avoid spoilers, but I'm sure fans of VR Hot Laps don't mind watching a second time from the whole race's point of view. There you've got this new Katana AI livery, and check out our community member Nintendo's new business venture, Katana. I think it's katana-ai.studio. Some mix of that anyway. VR Hot Laps with a slide through turn 3. He's going to lose a touch of time doing that, but he's got his blinkers on, has VR Hot Laps. I don't know if that is a deliberate distraction tactic. I think it's a bit early for the pit stop. If he's one-stopping this race, we'll be looking towards lap 24, 20, well, maybe slightly earlier. Between lap 20 and 24, I anticipate the drivers will come in for soft tyres. There's the blinker, there's the indicator, as we call it, the blinker. A move into the corkscrew. That's brave. A little bit of contact as well. It's braver still from both drivers, and into the fray Lilai. This is the nightmare scenario for both Hot Laps and Black Evo to have championship leader Lilai up from the back and starting to get into their battle. So possibly a touch of impatience there from Hot Laps, but he went for a gap, worked hard to get it. But the traditional most successful place to overtake here is down into the next braking zone, which is the Andretti double left of turn 2 through that hairpin. But of course, a failed attempt into the corkscrew denies you the possibility next time into the corner, into this very corner. So we'll have to wait and try again next time. Beautiful lick of blue flame off throttle, running out the back of Hot Laps Lamborghini Huracan, right into the face of the Tortoro sponsored Lilai Norwegian driver here, and he's just dropped back slightly. I wonder what that's about. If he's feeling like he needs to allow these two to fight for a few minutes and regather himself. That was Black Evo, a little bit tighter through the all-important turn 7 into turn 8A, 8B. Little hop there from the Huracan again. As we run through, it's lap 19. So we're knocking on the door of the pit stop window for the soft tyres. Depends how the drivers are feeling. I would imagine they want to get on those as quickly as possible, and VR Hot Laps seem to be in two minds, but he's dived into the pit lane and he's going to be working the wheel, trying to get himself an undercut here and then hold position with at least one lap older soft tyres at the very end of our race. VR hot laps then, the first driver starting on the mediums to duck into the pit lane. Brum staying out as he has the leader's advantage of being able to run his own race here and react to others behind. He's actually catching, I think, Monkey Games there to put a lap on, so he'll want to pit before he gets into that. Hot laps and Oscar, so it looks like a scheduled stop then for Azul. They don't share a pit box here. We have 14 clear pit boxes or more at every track, so they don't have to worry about that, or team personnel for the tyre change and refueling. All is a-okay. So they can stop on the same lap as their teammate and not have to stack the pit stops and wait and queue up. Brum though going past the pit lane again. I'm anticipating we will see drivers in pretty soon. In comes Grant, right on cue. Thank you, Grant, for that. Validating what I'm talking about. As Phil protecting that front left. He's got a little bit of damage on the car, Phil, but he's protecting that at the moment. 296 seemingly conservatively staying out. Lili in before his teammate on the same lap. There is Rhino. Again, Porsche. 2 of the 4 Porsches have gone by the pit lane on this lap and elected not to take the pit lanes. Neither does the first of the McLarens, Lord Top Hat. Zenith is going to go by, and NTU, of course, will not be stopping because he's running the medium tyres in the cooler temperatures at the end of this race. So interesting situation. Lap 20 of the 34. Lili in the pit lane. Oscar with a 3-second penalty for crossing pit lane entry or exit lines there. That's horrible for him. So unfortunately, Oscar, that's likely to be the pit lane entry line, just cutting across that little triangle of asphalt and dirt a little bit too late there, because it's just a dotted line on the pit lane entry for the drivers. It's unlikely on pit lane exit. I don't think you can. I don't think you're given controls early enough to cross the line there. Here is Brum then leading the race as he comes through the final corner. Once again, does not pit on this lap. He's running 1:24.9 on that lap. Now a 23.8 on his 21st lap. He's got absolutely no need to pit. Phil has decided to pit though. His times indicating to him that he's ready to go and get into the pit lane. That looked like possibly Monkey Games heading in to the pit lane. It was indeed. And there is Brum. Well, maybe that is an indication for Brum that that it's not the ideal tyre to be on right now. I'm sure he's just interested in getting the best run home that he possibly can on the soft tyres. Try and go for that fastest lap. It's held by NTO at the moment, 1:23.336. Brum still personal best, so like I say, no need to pit at the moment while you're still going faster. I'm hoping that he doesn't push too hard at this point for his sake. First win of the season at stake for Brum right now, as Rhino is in P3 and looking very impressive, but of course has still to make his pit stop. So will the undercut be the move here? Lord Top Hat has still not pitted either in his McLaren. NTO in P6 managed to perform the overcut, I believe, on Phil. I think Phil pitted that one lap earlier, but it hasn't worked out for him. No, it was VR Hot Laps who pitted earlier. Phil's off in the dirt and gravel, but just by 2 wheels, kept 2 wheels on the black stuff, or sort of medium grey stuff. New fastest lap from VR Hot Laps there, living up to his name. 22.917, still with plenty of fuel on board as well, on fresh soft tyres. Rhino in the pits on this lap 22. Looks like Brum, Black Evo, staying out at this point as well. Very impressive to still be out front there on the starting tyres. Little Top Hat pits. So it's a very busy period of the race in that pit lane. Monkey Games right at the back, but we have 11.5 laps to go for our race leader. Here is Brum Not all drivers, of course, will make the end of the race. It looks like it'll be a 33-lap race for Monkey, at least. Brum can see some drivers on his track map ahead as he scrolls through the available HUD or HUD pages. And still shying away from that pit lane. Brum and Black Evo keeping those medium tyres alive a long way into the race. It's now lap 24 for Brum. 23 just finishing for second place Black Evo, but I would anticipate Black Evo will get passed by Grant, NTO and Phil before hoping then to capitalise on those fresher soft tyres right at the end of the race. Maybe it's more about the Katana AI racing team thinking that it is better to be strong at the end on the soft tyres rather than risk them dropping off, and they want to push as hard as possible. Grant there in the BMW M4 with a purple first, I want to say 2 sectors. It is first 2 sectors for him. So coming through, that was a new fastest lap for Grant, 1:22.468. Racking lap from him, and he's going purple in the first sector of lap 24 for himself as well. Touch a slide going through the corners, exactly what you want from your GT3 machine. However, that's a little bit too much from Phil, and he runs wide, allows NTO and VR Hot Laps clean through. And once again, VR Hot Laps headlights are lighting up the rear end of a driver in front of him. Very, very busy race for VR Hot Laps. Brum finally pitting, and I'm expecting to see Black Evo come in as well, with exactly 10 to go. So I don't think Brum's lead was in danger or in doubt at all. There is Black Evo, VR Hot Laps. Possible dummy to the outside, as NTO feeling the need to defend there. And Hot Laps seemingly with a lot more grip, obviously on the soft tyres against NTO's mediums. We need to strike very quickly and decisively from the Azul Racing Team perspective. The two Tortoros, Lili and Phil, now together. That might come into the mix later on. A little bit of teamwork, perhaps an option for the drivers. Hot Laps with his indicators still on. It's more obvious now, of course, in the darker conditions, but he won't know that. I don't think that there is an indicator indicative light on the dash in the Huracan. Doesn't appear so. So he doesn't know. Although there was a slight reflection of it in the track surface there for a moment. Right on board with him. No rear view mirror in the Huracan. There is one on the Argento Peugeot RCZ. Tyre off in the dirt for NTO in front. Good run through turn 7 for Hot Laps. Just focusing on his exit. Slow in, fast out is the plan, but at some point you're going to need to be faster into the corner than the Peugeot in front, because you're going to need to try and make the overtake. This is the best opportunity he's had. Feint to the inside, beautiful overtake from VR Hot Laps. Will he leave himself vulnerable on the way out and into the final corner slightly, but he takes the middle of the road. NTO, a little nudge through the corner, but that only further advantaged VR Hot Laps because it slows NTO down relative to him, and VR Hot Laps through into third position. And again, early turn into the corner. NTO trying to maximise the run, opens the door here to championship leader Lili. Started at the back of the grid. Like I say, I wasn't privy to information as to why that was, but Lili through, possibly just for a moment anyway. Lili on the soft tyres now, as the bulk of the field are, and I think NTO is definitely going to have his hands full at this phase of the race. It may come back to him later on, so he's got to take this as damage limitation. I love that camera angle, especially when drivers just kick a bit of dirt up in the static camera face, with Phil in 6th position then behind Lili, his teammate, and in front of them NTO in P4, lap 26 of the 34. And again, you can see NTO just trying to push a little bit more, a little bit harder on his front axle than it is allowing him to. This could be the fact that he's on medium tyres in the lower temperature conditions. He's putting the same inputs into the car, but he's getting a different result each corner. And that was pretty speculative and clumsy from Lilai at first glance, and he knows it. And he's leaving. He's allowing NTO back past sportingly. Anybody can make a mistake like that, but he decides that he's just going to sit back and wait and allow the Argento, but also Black Evo, to make his way through as well. So very sporting from Lilai, exactly what we want to see here at SVR. Whether he relaunches here an attack coming into turn 2, I'm not quite sure, but I think he's holding back to start with. So have to go back and do that again. NTO may still report that because he's ended up losing, of course, 2 positions at this stage of the race following that contact. But at least from his perspective, he knows that the driver behind is doing what he can on the racetrack to say, my bad, my apologies. Everybody makes mistakes, of course. Multiple mistakes, multiple laps of every race. It's just the degree of the mistake that you might make. Phil, though, up to 4th. This could be a good promising result for Phil. We've got VR Hot Laps in 3rd position. Grant way up the road. Grant putting in monster laps. As soon as he's got this BMW onto the soft tyres, he has been fantastic. Now, he stopped earlier than Brum in front. Brum measuring what I would say, probably not having to measure his pace on the way in. Doesn't mind kicking a little bit of dirt onto the tyre on the braking zone into Andretti. Brum, front brake disc aglow on the way in to that Andretti corner, which you love to see. Beautiful little details here. But he is catching Brum, who's was able to get a 23.2 that lap, a 23.3 for Grant on the older soft tyres. He's going to have to be more careful towards the finish of the race than Brum is. Obviously, Brum's Ferrari 296, as most Ferraris are, a midship, whereas Grant racing a front-engined rear-wheel drive BMW. Just want to, yeah. We have VR Hot Laps in the Lamborghini. Further back with Phil in 4th. Chased hard by Black Evo. Looks like the Katana AI team, formerly known as Morado, well drilled today. And the Ferrari 296 well suited to the track. Here's NTO versus Lilai. Take 2. NTO defending well. And now Lilai has to think about some Porsche headlights in his mirrors. That's the Hector Motorsports Porsche entry of Rhino behind. Got absolutely beautiful soundtrack there as the Porsches come through. Oscar, good recovery so far in P9. He's all about team points today for Azul Racing, but hasn't been a clear run for the team in this G2 round here at Laguna Seca. Right on cue, there's the track sign for you. Let's go just towards the front there slightly, because you can just see Black Evo fighting Phil. Black Evo running out wide through Andretti, getting those tyres dirty, but then Phil does the exact same thing on the following corner through turn 4 into turn 5, and a long curving run towards number 6 underneath the Mother's advert on the overpass there, the pedestrian overpass at the track. As it approached then turn 7, the important one really. Oh, big clatter onto the curb from Black Evo, big correction mid-corner. And that's going to lose him a little shade of time on the way through as we approach the corkscrew, the group further back now. This is NTO leading Lilai for 6th, 7th, and Rhino's 8th positions, up 29 of the 34. And that's another super wide moment from Lilai. Wow. Through turn 9. That is a big one for him, unfortunately for Lilai there. And dropping back behind Rhino. War of attrition continues. And this is all about survival today. Nobody can breathe easy at Laguna Seca. That's Rhino on the outside. Is he warming up for a dummy into Andretti? He go all the way around the outside, put himself in harm's way there. No, Rhino. Smart decision making there in the Porsche. I'm hoping to bring the battle a little bit later, but his soft tyres won't live forever, that's for sure. Let's check in on how things are looking at the front. Well, Grant has put in one fantastic lap of a 22.1, then a 23.1. Compare that to Brum's 22.7 on the same lap. So they are hurrying each other up here, and it is punch counter punch between them as to who can get the cleanest, fastest laps to a finish. A little distraction for Brum. Grant with everything to gain. Brum at the moment feeling like he's got that first place to lose. So that's an interesting place for our drivers, especially as this is the first chance at a win here for the championship for Brum. He'll be feeling good because it's his track, but will he be feeling comfortable? I would say absolutely not. Sweating and breathing heavy, I would imagine. No comment, no slight on his cardiovascular fitness. It's just the pressure of leading a championship race that you work so hard for as well. That's the other aspect of sim racing that people ignore. It's not just the race, it's the 2 weeks of preparation, getting on the sim every time that you can to maximize your chance, and then obviously the pressure of all that time you've expended and the reality of a race not going all the way to plan A. And I think even for Brum this hasn't been a perfect race, with NTO getting ahead of him earlier on, but I think dealing with that calmly and sensibly. 3 to go once they cross the line, and they're coming through the final corner now. Brum ahead of Grant for a fabulous victory, and I think deserved win for either driver by the look of both of their pace so far. Grant was not really at the sharp end through the medium tyre phase, but strap on those softs and it's been a completely different picture. VR Hot Laps in P3, he's had a spill, and just underlining his raw pace, you can see he's still in 3rd position provisionally. Phil in 4th and Black Evo in 5th. Looks to be the closest battle here at the top end of the grid that we're dealing with. And we've got Lilai, who took a penalty on that lap, unfortunately for him. Rhino was gapped slightly by Lilai on that preceding couple of laps since we last checked in with them, so wasn't in a position to take any advantage from Lilai's track limit penalty. Oscar in 8th. The race looking better and better for him and for his Azul Racing team as it wears on. But as I say, drivers tense in these final few laps now. NTO in 9th, Sock in 10th, Zenith Specs in 11th. Further back, we've got the Zelen Motorsports team. Just cannot seem to manufacture any luck out of the season so far. It is 12th and 13th for Lord Topat and Monkey Games. We have lost a driver, unfortunately, from our race. So we're down to 13 now. Brum on his penultimate lap into the Andretti hairpin we go. Looks like Grant is unable to put Brum under a great deal of pressure. I think he's having to protect his fuel load. Look at the fuel load difference between Grant and Brum. That could well be the danger marker there for Grant, who may have had to turn the engine down. I'll check out their top speed, relative top speed, different points of the circuit there in a moment, and we'll see. Let's go to see Brum here. Goes through turn 7 now, which is the climb up the mountain. Let's see where we got on the curb. 125. Maybe just 2 miles an hour slower for Grant, so trying to focus on carrying momentum through the corners here. But there's certainly a worry. Brum's got plenty of fuel on board, and that's again the privilege of having built a gap at the start of the race. Having earned your gap with smooth, consistent driving, that you can then afford to put a bit extra fuel in. VR Hot Laps looking pretty low on fuel. the lowest we've seen so far. He's either gone into genius or the opposite territory there with his fuel load calculation. I mean, on normal circumstances, I would think that that's okay for one more lap for him, but we will cross our fingers for him to finish with enough fuel. Phil's in a similar boat. Black Evo hasn't put as much fuel in as his teammate running the same Ferrari 296, that's for sure. So as we bring this home to a finish, we've got Lili in P6 and Rhino in 7th place. Still now very much within striking distance through this lap. Talking about striking distance, here's the triplicate of NTO Sock and Zenith Specs. Sock playing rear gunner here for his teammate. Zenith Specs trying to get a really good result here for the team. Double top 10 at 2nd and possibly 10th coming for him on the soft tyres, which we've seen transforms the performance of the BMW. Brum has survived 34 laps through the corkscrew. Brum is putting his hazards on as well. He knows he's done enough. Brum through the final corner to take his first win here. What a fantastic drive from him and the all-new Katana AI Racing team. Congratulations to them. We've got Grant in 2nd place with a fully deserved P2 in the end and doing fine on the fuel. And here comes VR Hot Laps. Little flash of the lights possibly. Certainly that indicator's still on. We're going left into the final corner, which is a-okay for VR Hot Laps. I think he'll come home with this one and take that as a positive result in the end, as will Black Evo, a 1-4 for the new badge team. Phil in 5th, another fantastic performance from him. Great to see different teams in these top positions as well. Lili from the back to 6th is a great result for him, and Rhino in 7th. Looks like it's an Oscar P8. So a good haul of points from Laguna Seca for Oscar. A little flash of the lights there. And it looks like Zenith did manage to get home and take P10. We do frown on drivers heading into the crossing the line using the handbrake in a championship race. It doesn't look good, and it causes a yellow flag for following drivers as well. Zenith Specs in 10th, home there. Good performance from him. And then we had Sock, and let me just double check there. The 2 ZLN cars, and it was, in the end, the Hector Motorsports B-Bar who dropped from proceedings. Congratulations to the podium, Brum, Grant, and VR Hot Laps. A fantastic race, I hope you'll agree. We will be back very soon with more racing action here on SVR. But from me, Webbo, from us at the League, thank you so much for watching. We will catch you on the next race day.